One likes the Colorado Rockies, the other likes the St. Louis Cardinals. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians Beardcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to find out more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at beardedtheologians.com. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians. I'm Matt Franks.
I'm Zach Bechtold.
And you know, when you have those moments when you're thinking ahead and you know, you just go from there. That's what just happened to me. I almost introduced myself as Zach Bechtold. I'm having one of those days. Maybe I need.
That was a very Ron Burgundy moment of you.
Yes, it was. Today on this week's Beardcast, we're going to talk about back to school. Tis the season for back to school, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and kind of some of the implications on that in our everyday lives, whether we're parents or just everyday adults. And I think that that's something to have a good conversation about today. So, Zach, when you think of back to school, what kind of comes to mind for you?
For back to school for me, it having children and going to seminary this September, it really signifies kind of a new day in our household. With kids going back, they're starting. I've got a fourth grader and a first grader, and so our house is going to be a little emptier during the week. But they're starting this new journey, this new process, and meeting new teachers, meeting new friends, especially being in a new town that we haven't been in for very long. It's a huge transition for us. And then for me personally, it's a huge transition for my wife and I of going back and having one child at home during the day and getting into that routine. It opens up new and different opportunities for her and I to engage each other during the week. We use it as a time when the kids are at school to be really intentional about going out and having lunch, just her and I and our littlest one. And so it's really a nice time to get into our routine as a family, as husband and wife, and as parents, to go and do some different things that we maybe can't do in the summer, just because of time or just the logistics of it having 5 people to cart around and do stuff. So for me, it's just kind of that new beginnings. It's almost like January 1, that new year where Now we're going to start doing these types of things. For us, it's kind of in the fall when school starts. We get to gear around that and start those new processes and new things. Franks, what about you guys? How does the beginning of school impact y'all?
Impact us wise, it becomes a juggling act for us. We have 2 kids. But our school system's a 4-day school system, which makes things a little bit difficult because my kids don't go to school on Mondays. And the difficulty is that I have a lot of annual conference or district meetings on Mondays. And so I have to juggle childcare and make sure that we have childcare available for us. And that is probably the hardest thing I have to deal with most of the time with the kids. I enjoy the kids going to school. They love school. They're great students, but they just love being in class, and they love learning. They're great learners, and I know they look forward to it this morning when we got them ready for their first day today. And I know for me, it's a time of it actually gives us some of the structure that summer doesn't have. It seems like for us, summer's a little bit disjointed with my wife at home, who she works in a school, and so she's always busy during the school year. But during the summertime, she's with the kids and at home a lot of the times, and we have to juggling schedule doesn't seem as hard as it does in the school year, and I think that's the hard struggle. Thinking about the theological perspective of school start, I think of the new beginnings and how, I don't know about you, Zach, but when I was in school, I always looked forward to a new school year because it was always a new teacher, and it gave me chance of grace to maybe better than I was the year before. Although in my case, that was never really the case. It was how much can I bend this teacher before she just snaps and breaks me. But I know that there's this is a great opportunity for the church to recognize that. And I know in Oklahoma, teachers and staffs need to be prayed over so much more, as our school systems are having shrinking budgets, but increased class sizes and all other headaches that go along with that. And the more that we can be a prayerful presence in our schools, I think that that's always helpful. I always look for ways to connect into the school systems because I love being involved in the education process of young children, because I think it's we're investing in our future, and if we don't participate in that, then we are only doing our future harm. And so, the back to school time is a great opportunity for ministry, but it's also a great opportunity to restart and to kind of refocus. And that's kind of the way that I've handled it this year, not only with the girls starting school, but how am I refocusing myself and recentering myself, because the first half of my year was a little bit more chaotic than I had planned.
Well, and I think that's right for the church. We go through the summer, we have our big camps and VBS and all the things that we do in summer activities for the church, and then we kind of re-gear in the fall and again start new and find new opportunities and new ways to be involved in the community. And schools are a big way, because you not only are being involved with children, but you're being involved with the staff and the administration. And the more that you can support the staff and the administration, it's like you said, their teachers are being more heavily relied on to do things that aren't teacher things to do. They're having to deal with more discipline, more at-home issues and things like that, where in the past that hasn't been the case. And so they need our help, they need our prayers, they need our support as the church. And so we've got to find ways as the church to be connected into that. And what a great place to start to be in mission with is your local schools. And we're doing the same thing here. We're trying to find ways that we can support our local community through the school system. And we've got two locations to do that here, and two very different locations, two very different communities that need the same kind of support, need to be prayed over, need to know that their church community is there for them when they have situations or things that arise to come up to.
Yeah, and that's one of my plans this year will be probably not next week, but in the following week. I'll probably go up to the schools and say, hey, here's my card. If you need anything, like if you need something done, or if there's a need for a kid, let me know, and I will get that kid help in any way that I can. And that's just something I like to do. I want us to be a presence in our schools, because I want the kids to know that God is with them and there in ways that they can only never really imagine. And so I like to remind our teachers that they're in ministry, and that they when they're in teaching their schools, that they're being the light of Christ to those kids. And I know that they can't instruct them to pray, and I know that they can't force Bible down their throat, which I'm okay with that. I do like to remind them that because of our baptism, we are all in ministry to those kiddos, and the support staff, and the teachers and everything else that goes on at the school. And so, just I would encourage you, if you're listening to this and you're a church leader or you're involved in your local church, find a way that your church can involve themselves into the school, because it's so important in this day and age to have those presence, to be actively involved and to be a help. Don't be a hindrance. It's easy to critique. It's easy to tell the teachers and the support staff, well, I wouldn't do it this way, or back in my day, we did it this way. But to just say, hey, I'm here to serve. I'm here because I love Jesus, and I want kids to see what loving Jesus looks like. And so I think that that's something that, as you think about back to school, as we enter into that season, because really back to school lasts until after Labor Day. I know, like, we're starting this week, and I know, Zach, you're starting in a couple of weeks, but really it does start, like, it takes about 3 weeks to really kind of fully engage and to kind of get things off the ground. And so I would encourage you to find a way to be a presence in your school systems.
And you're right. We can't expect our teachers and our administration to go in and preach and teach and ask the kids to pray. They can't do that. And I'm like you, that's not necessarily something I want them to do, even with my own children. But so many kids go to school feeling unloved, having rough home lives. And if we can do anything as teachers and administrators, in that, it's show the love of Christ through how we love people. And I know sometimes those situations are difficult. that sometimes kids are difficult, and we need to understand where they're coming at from home and why they're having a rough day. And instead of just going and hauling off and writing those children off, if we can bring the love of Christ into that through our actions and how we love kids, that's a huge thing. To me, that's bigger than pushing prayer or anything else in the school system. Is let's just show up and love kids and love these people, because maybe they're not seeing that at home. And if we can change that a little bit in their day, and they're excited to come to school because they're seeing something different, they're experiencing something different, that could spark that love of Christ in their own life, and that's huge. And like you say, we've got a lot of time as back to school hits the ground running, and I know a lot of people are starting now, and I know a lot of people start in September, which seems crazy to me. That seems late, but here we are. We'll be starting school soon, wherever you are, and remember to go in and take that love of Christ with you, with the teachers, with the other students that are there with you. I think that's going to conclude us for today. As we talked about school, we would encourage you to go to your pastors, to go to your churches, and how are you being involved in your school systems locally? How are you helping equip teachers and administration to bring that love of Christ into their schools in a way that isn't intimidating to children, but just shows them who you are and who Christ is. And so encouraged to have those conversations. If you need to bake some cookies or take a cake down to the school, I encourage you to do that. Food's a great way to people's hearts, and a great way to show support at the very least. We also
wait. Don't forget your college students.
Yes.
Care packages are always awesome. So if you can rally up the troops and maybe get a nice little care package to your college and graduates students, that would be awesome. I know that we were talking elementary through like high school, but and I hate to interrupt you, Zach, but I was like, man, we gotta make sure, we gotta remember those college age and graduates, because they need to be reminded that they are loved as well.
That's true. I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't want to be selfish in that. Starting seminary in the fall, you can send your care packages to my office. That would be great. But anyways, on that point, yes, love. Share that love with anybody that's going through school, whether it be somebody in elementary or even college, and even adults going back to college. They need to experience that as well. So like Frank said, find ways to do that. Care packages are great. What makes a really great care package for your teachers going back to school, for your college students, or Bearded Theologians mugs? You can find them on our website through Zazzle.com. Frank's has a really cool one too. Our t-shirts, we got our Teespring t-shirts in, if you can see it here. You can run those. Frank's has one from our Zazzle, from our website. It's like the one I wore last week, but blue. And we encourage you to buy those. Those are awesome. Those help us keep this podcast going, helps pay for our website and some other expenses. We really appreciate your support there. Also, we appreciate your support on the interwebs. On Facebook, we're up to like 321 friends. When we get to 350, we'll give some cool stuff away. We've follow us on Instagram and the Twitter as well. And we want to thank you for checking out the podcast here on video and through iTunes and Google Play. The last thing we want to encourage you guys to do is keep the conversation up. Share it with your friends. Post it on Facebook. We'd love to have as many people listening to us as possible, so that we can continue on this conversation. For the Bearded Theologians, I'm Zach Bechtold.
And I'm Matt Franks.
Thanks for checking us out.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Coffee in my Bearded Theologian mug. Such a nice day. What a good way to start the day with some coffee.